Excellent. We are live recording at least, and I'm super excited for everyone that's going to get to hear this conversation because we have Shazia, who is someone very special. She is part of the AJC Coaching Career School that I'm in. And even before you introduce yourself, Shazia, I have to let you know that even before the school began, the way I hear people speak of you and just the way that you're of service and the way that you show up and the way that you communicate is just very powerful. And people receive it, they receive your presence. And so for anyone listening, I want you to know that you are in store for something powerful today. Hopefully that's not too much pressure for you, Shazia. But yeah, I just wanted everyone to know that. And the reason why I'm doing these conversations for anyone listening is this whole idea of how do I generate conversations? How do I create clients to fill my practice? Or if I have filled my practice and I've reached that point where I'm going, who else am I speaking to? Where do these conversations happen? I'm just really excited for this. And I'm just gonna, I could go on and on. So I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, just who you are, and what you're up to, and the way that you serve people.
Sure. Thank you so much, James. It's lovely to be here, and thank you so much for that really beautiful, heartfelt introduction. I really appreciate everything that you shared. Um, and I think anyone in your network, anyone who is benefiting from these interviews that you're creating, um, this is you just the fact that you're doing these, James, it's such a testament to who you are. And you talked about how, the service that I am of in my world and the people that I interact with, and I see that definitely reflected back in you. And just the fact that we're here having this conversation, this is off your own back, this is, nothing in it for you, and yet to be able to show up for people that you know and people that you don't by producing this content, it's really invaluable. So I really acknowledge you for doing that and for being here. In terms of introduction, so yeah, I'm a leadership coach. I work with organizations, everything from kind of charities like Shelter to global, and international corporates like HSBC, General Mills. And I also work one-to-one privately with individuals and run groups. So the work that I do really spans across lots of different demographics, across lots of different countries, across different challenges that people might come with. But ultimately, what I'm about, what I'm here on this planet to do, is to empower leaders and humans to love themselves and others so powerfully and with such clarity that their ripple effects change the world just because they're in it. And that's my
Oh,
mission in
so
life.
good, so good. I love that. Um, wow, this is powerful because what I see in you is someone who really embodies your work. And I think sometimes people, they talk about coaching, and what I see with you is that you really embody your work and what you speak, and what you're choosing to live into. What has Yeah, has that always been the case? Or I mean, I take it the answer is kind of like no, but
No,
what has the journey
definitely
been
not.
like? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that acknowledgement. It's a daily choice, I think, when you talk about embodiment of this. And I just, anyone who's in this industry, anyone who's a coach, who's in this business, I just think we are so lucky because there is no, or maybe there are very, very few jobs out there where your own well-being, your own sense of self, your own freedom and peace inside of yourself is kind of a job requirement, right? It's in the job description because why would someone want to work with someone who doesn't have the life that they're looking to have? And so for me, it's just such a gift that anything that I'm doing to work on myself, anytime I go to the gym, anytime I eat healthily, anytime I do a personal development course, like any of this stuff that's really good for me and my world and my body and my mind and my spirit, it's all CPD, right? It's all part of my professional development because um, one of the things that I truly believe about, if we're about being exceptional coaches, right, not mediocre coaches, if we're really wanting to play at that highest level, we've got to keep getting better and better and better. And I say that there's two avenues to that, right? There's like continue to get better and better and better as a coach and hone your skill and practice your craft and all of that. But there's continue to get better and better and better as a human. And that's going to mean 1,000 different things to 1,000 different people. But whatever that means to you, that's got to be part of where you put your energy, is to be the kind of person that people will want to work with, be like, be that role model, be someone that someone can look at and be like, whatever it is that James has got, like, I want a bit of that. What's that about? It's for me, that's something so magical about our profession, is that that's part of becoming better at what we do professionally. I don't think I answered your question at all. Did I?
Well, no, I think you've started to answer my question, and so I love this because I think you've really touched on something important. Because I think a lot of times when there's almost an ability to there's the ability to create clients, and there's the ability to actually, like you said, be the role model, not in a sense of, hey, people are going to be just like me, but in the sense of getting to be inspiring to someone, or for them to look and say, well, if this person could do it, then maybe I could do it because I relate with them in a lot of different ways. And so that has me curious, and I imagine you could probably talk days, on your journey. What would you say that perhaps the top two things are that have made the biggest difference for you on your journey in terms of stepping into more of who you wanted to be, whether personally or professionally?
That's a big question. And before I answer it, just going back to something you said a minute ago around it not necessarily like it, not being the person that someone else. I think I'm going to kind of contradict myself from what I said. I love doing that, by the way. I think it's so cool when you get to play in that messy gray area of like nothing is just 100% true, and we get to
Mhm.
see all the exceptions to things. But being the person that a client might want to be, yes, but also what I really love about the way that I work is that I don't have to know more than my client. And in fact, that's often at the detriment to great coaching, is if I think that I know better. And so I love working with, experts and individuals who are just like really, really top of their game in their field, and in a field that I know nothing about, because I'm not here to teach my truth to people. It's about helping other people hear their own truth. And that's what really skillful coaching is. It draws out the wisdom inside the person in front of you. And so um, I I don't claim to be the person that somebody else wants to become, but there is a level of, I'll give you an example, just a trust in my own wisdom and intuition over my own intellect that I have to be uncompromising about for my clients to get that, right? Otherwise, I'm not practicing what I preach. There is a there is an absolute certainty in the knowing that my state of mind, or where I'm at in a particular moment, is is going to determine how I show up, and how discerning I am about that is going to impact my outcomes in the world, right? Like if I lose that as an example, then my clients aren't going to be able to get the highest level of service possible for them. So I just wanted to share that. Um, you said the two things that have really made a difference for me. Um, and I mean, this isn't directly about client creation, but everything to do with client creation, and that is the document. So my relationship with myself through the work that I have done on my document. And when I say the document, um, this is a list of statements that you could read as a set of affirmations, and it's absolutely not that. It's a declaration, it's an assertion of commitment that was born out of my deepest insecurities, my biggest judgments against myself, everything that I was critical of myself for. And out of that came a really beautiful, poetic, spiritual compass of who I am in the world. And that's not it. It looks good and it sounds good and it's this beautiful framed thing in my house, but that's not the thing. The thing that has really made the difference is how I choose to show up every day as a result of those words, right? The words on a document are not, they don't do anything, actually. They have no power. The power all lies within. And it's that consistent choice and commitment to show up as the lines of my document day in, day out. When you talk about embodiment, when you talk about how you look at me and you see someone who embodies what they do, I would say it's that. It's the consistent commitment to being the person that I say I am and want to be.
Wow. That's so powerful because I think, anyone listening to this, it's a realization that, we can be on path and we can step off path. And what I'm hearing from you is the creation of this document, right? It helped you uh, really understand or create more of the you that you wanted to show up as. And then there's this um, piece of choosing it each day. And in fact, probably even beyond each day, it's each moment of the day that, whether it's catching yourself or reminding yourself and those different things, which I think is very powerful because sometimes there can be this idea of, oh, that this is just who I am, and you're coming from that sense of creation and continuing to make that choice.
Mm. Yeah, and it can be a very loving thing as well. I think a lot of people can have the impression that creating a document and being committed, like that word commitment to something, and showing up that way each day, even when it's hard. Yes, and there's a line in my document, I am relentlessly compassionate with myself. It's like that's a line that I lean into when I need the opposite of that, right? When I get to just show up as the messy, all over the place, chaotic me that I might be that moment, and being like, that's okay. I can love myself in all of that. Um, and the ripple effect of that is so huge because when we are able to love ourselves in all of that, um, it means that other people have permission to love themselves in all of that.
Yeah. And I think this is a great um, sort of transition into this idea of the client creation, right? Because there's who you're being in the world, who you're being with yourself, and the way that you're showing up. What have you found, most helpful for yourself on your journey in terms of generating conversations or this idea
Mm,
of creating clients? Right, because we, like you said, we can feel chaotic, we can feel messy at times, and we're professionals, and that means showing up. Yeah, I'll just pause there. What
yeah.
comes through for you as I ask that?
Um, go get it wrong. That's what comes through for me. So if I think about what's made the biggest difference for me in, where I was at the beginning to where I feel I am now, it's the willingness to go and get it wrong. And I'm going to pick that apart a little bit because there's a few elements to that. So number one is nothing happens in your mind. Everything happens in real life, right? Life happens when you're really doing something. So that's the action element of it. Like actually be willing to take action. The action that you take is probably slightly less important than the fact that you're taking action. So actually doing something rather than thinking about doing something is, I mean, put it this way, doing something has some percentage chance that you'll create a client. thinking about doing something has a 0% chance that you'll create a client, right? So getting into action is huge. If you're the kind of person who tends to think things through and want things to be perfect or wants things to be right before you take that step, that's the biggest thing that's stopping you. The other side of this, go get it wrong, is it's not going to be polished. It's not going to be perfect. For me to be able to sit in front of someone, which I did earlier today, and talk about a proposal for a year-long coaching relationship and exactly how it's going to look and exactly what this person's going to get out of it, say the fee without stumbling or without blinking, and take a real stand for the person in front. All of this stuff that I'm able to do now would never have been possible if I wasn't willing to go and get it wrong 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 50 times. Because that's so part of the journey. In the same way, right? The age-old example of when we learned to walk, right? Like you get up and you fall down, you get up and you fall, you'll see toddlers doing this, like everyone's just failing over and over and over again. And if they are afraid of failure or decide they don't want to fail anymore, like you would have all these adults just sitting around not being able to walk, right? Like we don't have that, because when we're that age, we just keep trying, we keep going, we're failure proof. And so be failure proof in the sense that I don't mean that to say don't feel stuff, don't feel bad when you get a rejection. That's going to happen, right? Like with time that starts to soften and doesn't matter as much, but it's okay to feel what you feel, right? You propose your fee to someone and they say no, I could never even imagine paying you that, are you crazy? Like that might hurt. Now it's not actually that circumstance and that person and that that makes you feel that way, but there might be something going on inside. That's okay. It's not about becoming resistant to that feeling, but be willing to get into that feeling for the higher purpose of getting to a stage where you get a yes. So go get it wrong to me means be in the game of creating clients. It doesn't matter whether that person ends up putting money in your bank, but everything that you're doing, whether that's inviting someone into a conversation, whether that's saying, hey, I'm a coach, that can be the biggest barrier for some people, just being willing to say, I am a coach. This is what I'm doing now. Whether that's articulating more about coaching, which is, to be honest, something I still haven't mastered. I still don't love that question. What do you do? I still don't know how to answer. But it's fine. It doesn't, it doesn't mean anything. Whether it's having a coaching conversation, whether it's inviting someone into another one, whether it's proposing to work together, whether it's getting messy and talking about the fee when someone says, oh my God, I don't think I could afford that. All of that, whether it's figuring out discounting, prices, packaging, what it looks like, get in the game of doing it. Be willing to receive a no after a no after a no after a no. I gave someone, the Julian Sard, who's part of the AJC school this year. I gave him the challenge to go and get 10 no's, and he's posted about this on Facebook. And I basically predicted, I said, you won't be able to have 10 conversations or invite 10 people and get 10 no's. Like you're not gonna manage it, because by the time you get to 10, you're gonna have a whole bunch of yeses. But my challenge to him was go get 10 no's. So he's got to keep asking and keep asking and keep asking until people say no. And I think I remember him saying something like 10 out of 10 said yes. Now, if he'd stayed stagnant, if he'd stayed in inaction, he would never have lived to tell that tale. He would never have known what's on the other side of that. But being up for a no and seeing a no as a step towards yes rather than a failure, that's everything. And having that willingness to be messy, be clumsy, get it wrong, stumble over the fee, stumble over your words. When someone says, what are you doing? And you don't know how to answer it, like go and be in that conversation, because until you move through that and it starts getting kind of, you start trying on these new clothes of, oh, I'm a coach and I'm saying this stuff and I don't know how to say this stuff. Like they're not going to fit until you kind of move around a little bit in them, right? If you keep it in the cupboard, it's never going to work. So I guess the invitation here, and the thing that for me has been such a game changer, especially in the early days, and actually even now, I'm still getting it wrong all over the shop. I'm just doing it with different types of challenges or issues or questions, or different level of client. Like it's still the game that I play, is be willing to get it wrong, be willing to get a no, be willing to mess it up, because then at least I'm playing the right game. I'm in the world of yeses.
This is so good. I'm loving this because yeah, there's a few things that I'm gonna unpack here. I love this. I'm hearing a few things. One is the the action is actually the most important. As you were talking about that, I was thinking of um, someone going to the gym, right? There's the idea of walking on the treadmill or running on the treadmill. Then there's the action of actually being on the treadmill, and then there's the action of doing the treadmill correctly, right? The action of actually being on the treadmill is the most important, rather than it even being perfect, right? So I love this. And then as you were talking about being little, we have a 10-month-old, and it's funny, she'll try and move to something or go to something, and I'm like, okay, well, let me just bring you back, and she'll go right there. There's no concept of failure, and she may cry, she might get upset during different moments, and the next day or later in the afternoon, she's back at it, the thing that she wanted to do, which to me is very similar to what you're talking about, of taking the action, whatever that might be, fumbling over it, getting the nose, and let yourself, experience whatever that experience is, and then getting back to it, because without having to make yourself wrong or make it about you or about them, of the action is the most important thing. And I love that you shared how it's this game, right? Sharing with Julian of getting the 10 no's, and being like, well, I got pretty much all yeses. And it's interesting, right? It reminds me of Steve Chandler's, yes lives in the land of no. And it gets to be this thing that's a natural part of the process, rather than, are they going to do it? Are they not going to do it? And it just gets to be a natural part of growing a business, because it's part of the game, or growing a practice, whether you're just starting out and filling your practice, or whether it's the higher level client, like you're saying, or higher level, or paying more, or just a different context. So I love all of this, and so I appreciate letting me just like unpack that there, because I think anyone who's listening to this, these are common experiences, whether you're starting out, whether you're further along, that it gets to be part of the journey. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for just the way that you shared that.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I'll add one extra thing that just came to mind as you were talking, is you can't mess it up enough to quit unless you want to quit. So the only, like, this is something that I notice with coaches that I coach, or kind of I've had this experience in the past, is like, but what if I mess it up so bad? Like, what if I do something or say something that I can't come back from? And people are quite afraid of, what will people think of me, the reputation, how, whether I lose respect for someone, or I burn a bridge, or the relationship with this potential client is completely lost. You can't fuck it up. Like, you just can't. If we're all about messing it up and getting it wrong, so that the next person that we speak to, we might do it differently. And in the world of coaching, like, we're about growth, right? We're about evolution. It's our whole MO. So it's not possible to mess it up so bad that you've got to throw in the towel and and quit coaching and go and get a real job, the only thing that can make you do that is yourself, your own decision to do that, your own choice to do that. And I remember when I first started out, I was uh, working with in Isla Coates's Coaching Well Business School, and she's a she's brilliant. She's a long-term client of Steve Chandler, and so kind of I was introduced to the whole prosperous coach method. And one thing that she shared about her journey was that she gave herself, I think it was 5 years, and I then adopted that. So she basically was like, I'm going to give this thing five. Usually we might give ourselves 6 months. We might give ourselves a year, like, oh, let's see if this coaching gig works. I'll give it a year, and then if it's not working out for me, then I'll go and do something else. And think about the pressure that that creates. And we know, right, being students of the mind, like we know that when we have high pressure, when we have a lot of panic and urgency and fear that comes from that, we're going to do less well. We're just going to perform less well. We're going to be more restricted internally and externally. So one thing that she did and one thing that I did was I started out and I said, okay, I'm going to give myself 5 years. That felt really generous. I'm going to really stay on this path, keep taking action, keep adopting the tools and techniques and strategies and ideas that people who are doing this well are doing and sharing. And I'm just going to keep going for 5 years. And now, if I need to supplement my income with other things, then that's fine. But I'm going to commit to staying on the path for 5 years. The level of relief in that, to be able to say, okay, I got that time. I can really do this. I can really go for this. Staying on the path, what I've seen with myself, with other coaches that I work with my peers, is that the single variable, the number one variable between like making it as a coach and not making it as a coach is those who stay on the path. Are you willing to not give up when things go wrong? Are you willing to keep taking action when you get 4 rejections in a row? Is that something that you're up for? And genuinely, hand on heart, I can say that if you just keep staying on the path, if you just keep taking the next right action, you'll get there. And that the next right action looks different. It might look like upskilling. It might look like going deeper into your own work so that you become a better coach. It might look like hiring a coach yourself and continuing to run game film and taking all of the things that aren't working to your coach. It might look like reading the books that exist out there on the practicalities and the how-tos around coaching. The Prosperous Coach, Carolyn Freya Jones' Total Success Coaching book, I think it's called. Ankush, my coach, has just he's just about to put out his latest book, Awakening the Coach Within, which is all about that. So like read those 3 books and you're pretty much done. If you're willing to read those books, and I don't mean read them, actually, James, I mean read them and implement everything that you're seeing, test out every single chapter of every single one of those books, and you stay on that path, right? In terms, that's the practical side of things. Like you can't not get there. So I would just say, like, give yourself some grace, give yourself that time. If this is something that you care about, you're passionate about, it doesn't happen overnight. It's something that takes time and it takes energy and effort. And my guess is for the coaches listening to this, if you're in this game, you really want to be, you really want to help people, you really want to do something good, you want to create impact in the world. It's worth it. Trust me, it's worth it. So yeah, I just add that just stay on the path. You can't, not, there is nothing, there is no failure, there is no rejection, there is no mess that is big enough to make you quit. That doesn't exist. Only you can do that.
Yeah. Wow. This is, I'm loving the way that you're speaking about this, because I think sometimes, especially when people hear about action, right, they can think that those feelings don't come up, or like you said, getting the 4 no's in a row. And I remember when I dove into Steve Chandler's work and the Prosperous Coach for myself, I was I was going to send someone a message. And I think I worked for that message on a week for like a week. It took me a week to send the message. And I share that because I want people to get that sometimes, uh, you know, there's jumping into action and then there's the staying on the path of action. And I sent the message and then so many feelings come up. And then after that, it became so much more easeful to make an invitation to somebody or to send whatever the message was. I don't even remember what the message was, but they ended up wanting to do some work together, and it can look it's messy, right? Especially when we're doing something new. And so I love how you're reiterating that of staying on the path and continuing to be on the path, being persistent in that. And there's a phrase that I remember I was trained in sales in the past, very very different from the coaching style or prosperous coach style. But there is a line that they shared with me that I think would be helpful for anybody, because sometimes, like you said, there's four no's, or we're wondering, are they going to be yes or no, and are we taking the right action? And what they told me is they they already aren't your client. You cannot lose anything. You already aren't working with them. You can't get them, and so it just opened up a whole world, like you're talking about, of, well, let me just try whatever it is, the action to start a conversation, to be of service. I'm not losing anything. I'm not going to ruin the relationship by trying to be helpful to somebody, and to make a difference in their life. So yeah, I just wanted to
Yeah.
share that. Really love what you shared.
Yeah, I love what you just said around trying to be helpful, because I think that's the reframing that I find really valuable, is the difference between trying to get a client, trying to get them as your client,
Mhm. Yeah.
and trying to give service, essentially. And just that shift in mindset is recognizing that, because this is something that has come up in the past for me, still does occasionally, something that comes up with my AJC mentees, something that's been coming up with my coach clients. Um, the feeling that, I don't want to come across as trying to sell something. I don't want to come across as trying to get them as a client. Um, but the way that I see this is, you know, if I'm sitting across from someone, and you talked about conversations and creating conversations, and one of the things I find happens a lot, just because I'm open to talking to people, is that I will meet potential clients everywhere I go. Like, I'll just start conversations with people, and I might hear a problem, I might mention I'm a coach, and that gets into whatever it might be. But let's say I'm sitting across from someone and I see something that could be really valuable for them. Maybe we've even been talking about it. Maybe I've even been serving them a little bit and sharing something that I think could be helpful. It's almost like, okay, I have this bar of gold in my pocket, right? And I'm willing to get it out and give it to this person. And according to them, they look at that bar of gold and they think, I don't know, is that real gold? Is that fake gold? I have no idea. But they get to decide, if you were in that position, would you take the bar of gold and go and get it valued and checked, or to see if it's real or not? Or would you just be like, no thanks, that looks like fake gold, take it back? Like, I know I would want to check. I'd want to have a look. I'd want to be like, wow, if this is real gold, I'll have some of that, please. And so it's kind of like that. It's like, we're here offering gold, and it's not guaranteed that the person in front of us is gonna see that, or that it even will be real gold for them, because every coach client relationship is unique, and there is no single coach out there that's the perfect coach for every client in the world. um but the testing of it, like the willingness to be like, hey, I've got this gold for you, do you want to go and take it to the pawn, like, do you want to check? um that to me is a very different mindset, because it's me saying, I've got something, I'm coming to you with something for you, take it or leave it. It might help, it can't hurt, right? There's a level of, for me, when I have those conversations, there's a level of humility around not being, it, again, remember I talked about two opposing things can be true at once. So there's one hand, which is like me being really crystal clear and in who I am, what I have to offer, the power of my coaching, um, the boldness that comes with that, the certainty, the ability to say, hey, I can help you with that. Do you want to talk? And that's kind of not necessary if you're willing to take action anyway. So that's something for me. I didn't have that initially. Definitely didn't have that initially. But I was willing to get uncomfortable enough, right? To just be like, hey, do you want to see? Do you want to check and see if this is helpful? And so I would meet that with a lot of humility, a lot of like, this is kind of what I do for a living. I help people with exactly the kind of thing that you're talking about right now. I'd be really happy to have a conversation with you about that. And it might help. And so just being willing to see it in your own mind as I'm offering a bar of gold here. I'm giving a gift here. This is not about me. This is not about getting money or getting a client. This is about spreading like ripple effects in the world. This is about showing up and being one of those humans in this on this planet who is, you know, giving something good away, like sprinkling something beautiful and joyous on the world. If I can show up with the mindset that that's what my coaching is, it's not me getting something, but it's me offering something, it's me giving something, then that shifts everything. And it makes me a lot more comfortable and happy to actually say those things and offer my services and invite someone into a conversation because it's not about me. I'm really seeing that this could be helpful for you. And I think the prerequisite for that, the thing that feels true for me when I do that is I'm doing that because I care about this individual in front of me. And I care about the individual in front of me more than I care about what I look like, what they might think of me, whether I'm good enough or not, like any of that stuff, because that's all going on too. And that can be all going on, and that's not a problem that that's going on. But can I let that matter slightly less to me than the potential for this person to be helped? Because if I'm genuinely more interested, if I make it more important, and if it really is more important to me that this person in front of me who's got a challenge gets helped and resolves it and flourishes, if that's really, this is kind of where we put our money where our mouth is as coaches, right? It's like I'm testing you here, like, is it really what you care about? Because if it's really what you care about, then none of the other stuff in your mind is going to be strong enough to stop you from saying whatever you need to say in that moment, inviting them into a conversation, asking if you can put your coaching hat on. Like, it just won't get held back by all of the insecure thinking if it's really true and it's true that you're more interested in that person getting the support that they need than in yourself.
Hmm. I love that. And it sounds like, there's this element where as you're in conversations, as you're with people, there's going to be people that you hear that you may be able to help them with something that you're hearing. Now, a question that I would have for you is, when you're hearing people, is it more about getting them the help that they need and you're willing to have a conversation? Or is it more about if you hear something that you yourself know that you could potentially help them with? How do you have a balance? How do you balance that for yourself?
Sorry, articulate that again. So so you're asking about the difference between me seeing something that I could help them with and
And maybe you recognize that somebody could use help, but it might not be your expertise. Are you still focused on helping them get the help that they could use, or is it more of maybe in that moment you give some recommendations to help lead them in the right direction? Yeah, just
mm,
curious how you balance that.
yeah, that's interesting. I mean, it would probably depend on what someone needs. If someone's looking for a plumber,
In
I'm of
this
no use,
fictitious
right?
scenario,
Right. So
yeah.
it's like, cool, let me direct you to my plumber who's going to be able to help you with that. If it's something in the region of the mind or leadership or someone struggling inside of themselves or these kinds of conversations, even if it's something that I don't have direct expertise in, which I would challenge a little bit in the sense that if someone's struggling with something inside of themselves, for example, grief, right? Let's say someone's grieving and they're really having a hard time about it, and you are over here as like a I don't know, like a business coach, let's say. Um, and so you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, this isn't I can't do grief. I'm no expert. I've never worked with anyone about grief. Um, you might say, well, okay, the next best thing to do is to, say, well, I know a bunch of coaches. Let me find someone who specializes in grief or who could work with you on that and recommend you. You can absolutely do that. I would say that's possibly stepping over the gold because if that were me, and I'm not in that position, but let's say that were the position that I'm in where I do business over here and I've never worked with anyone on grief, I would probably say, let's have a conversation. This is in the realm of what I do for a living. When let me understand a little bit more about what's going on for you, and maybe I'll be able to help, and maybe I'll refer someone to you who could really help. Now, there's two things that go on for me around that. Number one, I might be totally wrong about my lack of ability to help them, right? So just because I think that I'm over here and I'm only working with this demographic of person, uh, I might prove myself wrong, that actually there's something for me that I could be a great coach for this person. I could really serve them and support them with this. And I wouldn't know that if I didn't have the conversation, listen to them deeply, and have a sense of what they're going through. So I would question that like, oh, this just isn't my forte. Um, but the other thing is, if I'm ever going to make a recommendation or a referral for someone, like I want to really know what's going on with this person. I want to really know, what do they need? What kind of a person are they? What kind of a coach would be a good fit for them? Um, Even if I sit there and I think this just isn't the kind of client that I can work with, want to work with, it's not a good fit, that's fine. But at least I can still, the sprinkles we were talking about, like I can still be a positive impact in this person's life. Don't underestimate how powerful it is for a person just to be listened to. So if you did nothing in that call or that session or whatever, but deeply listen to a person, um, that can be often the most powerful thing that anybody could do with someone. Um, so you'll help them already in that conversation. But secondly, you're going to have a much better sense of, okay, what kind of coach is going to be the perfect fit for you. Does that answer your question, James?
Oh, that absolutely answers it. And yeah, this is great because it's almost as referencing the gold bars. It's like they have more gold than they realize. They actually would be beneficial for both people for them to verify. Even for the coach listening, like you said, that might be doing business coaching, and they recognize that somebody is experiencing grief, and they might have that thought of, wow, I haven't worked with someone with grief before, instead of just dismissing it or dismissing their own skills, to verify for themselves what's really happening with this person, because it allows them to be informed of what's happening for them, to get them the support that they need, or a referral to another coach, or to reach out to a community to find out who could be a great fit. And they might pleasantly be surprised of, wow, I actually can make a difference here. Or that person might just share, wow, you listening and being here made a huge difference for me. And I love this because I think it's so easy as a coach to, you know, we don't necessarily niche, or maybe some people have a specialty or something that they're comfortable with, that it's so easy to dismiss something and go, well, that's not really my area of expertise. When usually I think we forget that most people, they don't even necessarily know where to find a coach. They are just holding on to what's happening inside. So we can have an assumption that, oh, they're just going to get the support that they need,
Mm,
where very well, they could be dealing with that grief for the next 25, 30 years in their life because we didn't say, hey, let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, I
whatever it is, you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
I can give you an example of this. So, I was running a session for Townsend Wardlaw's 100K Accelerator, and one of the ladies in there said that she's a she used to be a teacher and now she's coaching, and she pretty much coaches exclusively teachers, and she kind of wants to branch out, and she was having some thinking about that and unsure about whether she can. Um, so exactly that kind of scenario where it's like, okay, this is my demographic, these are the people that I'm used to serving, and do I have to do something completely different to serve a different kind of person? And I I asked her, what are the things that you coach teachers on? So what are the sorts of issues that come up that you serve them, and how do you support them? And she gave me this list of things, confidence, you know, career progression, imposter thinking, like whatever it might be. She gave me this whole list of things, work-life balance. And and then I asked the room, I said, raise your hand. Those of you who work, I mean, everyone else was working with non-teachers, and if you've ever worked with a teacher, exclude them. But for all your other clients, like raise your hand if you've ever worked with people on any of these issues. And you can guess what happened, right?
Right.
Every hand in the room went up, right? And so the teacher was like, oh, so I okay, so I could coach anyone on confidence or work-life balance or whatever. And it's not, it's just a thing that we make up in our heads because for whatever reason we're afraid that someone dealing with a different content needs a coach who specializes in that content. But when we're really coming from a place of grounding inside of ourselves where we know whichever type of person we're used to serving, um, whatever it is that you tap into when you speak to them, if you tap into the same thing, you can speak to anyone. And so, yeah, it's just an example to kind of reiterate what you're saying there, that it's not, um, it occurs to me that in most cases, and not all, but in plenty of cases, you actually might surprise yourself with how deeply of service you can be to someone who is going through something that you have never coached anyone else around.
Wow. I'm realizing that, let's say somebody's listening to this, right? We talked about this element of embodiment and just embodying and being a professional coach and stepping into, their being, and they're wanting to take action, and they're recognizing now that perhaps there's so many people that they could help. And what recommendations do you have that might allow them to uh, turn this into a game, right? So you gave the example of seeing how many no's, with Julian, get 10 no's. Um, are there any other things such as that, or recommendations that you have that could help people have some ideas of a couple actions that they could take? Yeah.
Hmm. God, there are probably hundreds. But the one that comes to mind is a game I'm playing right now, which is being of so I'm the game I'm playing is picking up the phone at least 3 times a week and being of service, and that's unprompted, um, not in the calendar conversations. And that's really fun because it gets you out your head a lot. Picking up the phone is something that in this day and age, and certainly was the case for me, felt really scary. Like, can I really just call someone when they don't know that I'm expecting, they're not expecting it? Um, and it creates clients. The other thing, what else could you do? I mean, the 10 no's thing is a game you could play in any variety, wherever your growth edge is. So it might be, say that I'm a coach out loud in social situations 10 times. It might be, there's say my fee 10 times to somebody, like, people in my life, my mum, my partner, whatever, just say, this is what I'm charging, is to get the fee out of your mouth enough times so that it's not something that you stumble upon when you are in an actual conversation with a potential client. Um, what else is there? Whatever it is that you're learning every day, I mean, every day for a week. I've never done this, and I actually don't necessarily recommend it. I was going to say around social media posting and sharing what you're doing, like just go and do that 10 times over 10 weeks. Share something online that is impacting you, that you're learning, that is, has moved you or touched you, or it's, generated an insight in you. Um, rather than trying to teach something, just share your own journey. That's also not necessary, by the way. So I had a full practice before I ever really posted on social media. It's something that a lot of people say is really good, and it is really good, but it's not necessary. Yeah, there's loads of things you can do. Whatever it is that if you were to just take a minute right now and ask yourself, whoever's listening to this, ask yourself, what's the thing that the action that you need to take or should be taking, but you're not taking. Go and create a game around that. Have an accountability buddy, right? Like, have someone who's, maybe another coach, maybe not, who you can just check in with and say, okay, I said that I was going to do this by the end of the week. Have I done it? I said I was going to take this action every week for 10 weeks. Have I done it? Have someone there to bounce ideas off. Those are just some ideas.
Oh, those are wonderful ideas. And clarifying question for you. That's the first I heard of the picking up the phone 3 times a week. How do you approach that? Is that you're checking in on someone, or is there is that kind of the intention? You're just saying, hey, I
It
wanted to
could,
say
yeah, yeah,
hello.
yeah. No, it's a great question. I'm glad you asked it. And I only have an answer to this question because I've been doing it, right? Like, this is just, I'm sharing my own live experience, right? So it might be that what you just said, like, hey, I'm just checking in. How you doing? What's been really interesting since I've been playing this game is that people will start popping into my head who I haven't thought about in months or years, and I'll be like, oh my God, this, James, that's your name. James just popped into my head. I was thinking Tom, John, James. Um, let me just pick up, I don't know why, I coached this person months ago, years ago. For some reason, they popped up into my head today. Why don't I just give them a call and see how they're doing? It might be, the other thing that I've done is I've learned something really cool this week about X. Let me just pick up the phone to one of my old clients and say, hey, I've been learning a lot about powerful questions and asking powerful questions and upgrading our questions into higher quality questions. What are some questions that you've been asking? I'm just curious to know, what are some questions you're asking right now when it comes to your business? Like, whoa, okay, this is weird, but cool, thanks. I appreciate your time. Like, here are some questions I've been asking. Cool, let's upgrade them. And then you kind of almost deliver a little coaching session for 10 minutes. Um, and it could be as simple as, hey, I've been thinking about you and I want to check in. It could be, this is what I've been learning about in my world and I want to share it with you. It could be, hey, I know that um, you've been having a hard time since you lost your dog. Like, how, do you want to talk about that? Um, anything that makes sense for you to share. And it's this, I'm talking like clients, ex-clients, ex-prospects, current prospects. It's really great, especially if you've got someone in the calendar. Let's say that you met with someone last week, or meeting them again next week, and you think of them, or there might be a resource, there might be something, there might be what I did the other day. There was a prospect that I must have seen a couple of weeks ago, and scheduling reasons we're not seeing each other for a couple more weeks, and I saw this quote, this Einstein quote, which I absolutely love. You might have heard it. The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that has that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. Something like that. I just loved it. And my conversation with this prospect was all about intuition. And so I called her up and I was like, hey, this is out of the blue, but I just read this quote. Can I read it to you? And I would love to hear what you think. She was like, yeah, thank you so much for calling me. This is weird. Yes. I mean, she didn't say this is weird, but I'm just speaking to that voice in the listener's head of like, how can you just call someone and say something so like, because yeah, me too, I've had that too, but that's okay, you can still do it. Barbara Stanny says that the number one requirement for success is the willingness to be uncomfortable. So just go and get uncomfortable, like that feeling of what are they going to say when I pick up the phone, how are they going to react, like yeah, that's okay, you don't die from that feeling. That's okay. um, anyway, so I shared this quote with her, and she was like, wow, that's so profound, and it really resonates, and it speaks to this, and I've been thinking about that. Thank you so much for calling. Goodbye. Like that, it was a 10-minute call, if that. And it was just, it created rapport, it created a connection that deepened, right? Like rather than having that 4-week gap between seeing each other, we deepened the relationship. You can do that anywhere. You can do that with anything that you might be reading or seeing or experiencing in your own life. Um, just follow the nudge, whatever the nudge is, whoever comes to mind, pick up the phone and say hi. It's, if that person sees you as a coach and knows you as a coach, they're going to feel grateful that somebody was thinking about them, looking out for them, wondering about them, seeing how they are. That's really powerful. It really matters, and it really means something to people.
Yeah. Wow. Excellent. Thank you so much for being here. This is one of my favorite yet. And if somebody wanted to uh, reach out to you, if they had questions, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, please do that. I'm a real person. If you email me, I will reply. I know when you're listening to things like this, it can sometimes feel like, oh, I couldn't. But no, I will absolutely reply to emails that I receive. ShaziaCoaching@gmail.com, SHAZIA coaching@gmail.com. I'm on Instagram, Shazia Coaching, LinkedIn, Shazia Coaching. You'll find, I mean, LinkedIn, Shazia Govindji, but my link is Shazia-coaching. Um, yeah, that's the best way to get hold of me.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And if anyone would like to ask me questions or get a hold of me, jmwhiteman.com is the best way to do that. And thank you so much, Shazia. We appreciate you. And I'm excited for everyone to listen to this. Thank you. See
Thank
you,
you,
everyone.
James. You're welcome. Take care.